YouTube channel near you.
Well, hello there, Roger. A little twisted. Lorna. Welcome, everybody. It's tuning in on a, Wednesday night, isn't it? Hello there, Liana, Kathy A. Hello there, Jacob. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I hear you with an echo.
You got an echo?
Yeah, I do.
Uh-oh. Check your mic settings real quick before we get started then. You shouldn't have an echo. You sound good on my end.
My
You got
mic
something
setting.
playing? Yeah, you got something playing in the background, YouTube or anything?
No, I just have you on.
Oh, that is not good. So we are starting a new show tonight, and you all get to actually participate on this one, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. Right now, it's called, it is called right now. Will we name it, Jacob? What do we call it right now?
Spiritual Street Talk.
Right. And that is actually going to be determined by the audience. Is that correct? If you go to your mic settings, if you go to settings and click on audio, see if you got an echo or anything.
Looking, yeah. Let's see. Stop mic.
Because usually it's something playing in the background. Welcome, Lorna. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, we are all excited she is here tonight. It's terrible. She's got an echo. Did it just start when we went live?
Oh, you know what I think happened? Hold on a second. Let me see. Whoops. Did I just do it? I just lost myself. Okay, I'm dangerous with stuff. Okay, am I back with you now?
Yes, you're here.
Okay, so I see what happened. I had the YouTube open, and since I had clicked on it earlier today, it was playing in the background on a screen I couldn't see. So,
yeah.
All right, well,
welcome, Hammer Time. Welcome, Missy. Nice to see you there, Missy. So, so introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
Yeah, so my name is Alethea Jacob. I originally am from Yonkers, New York. I was born and raised in New York and the East Coast for a good part of my life. I lived in Connecticut, also lived in Europe for 18 months, and I've lived in Los Angeles. And about 8 years ago, I moved here to Wisconsin and bought this beautiful farm with 20 acres and planted an orchard and community garden and just a little piece of paradise to enjoy in between any kind of events and workshops and public gigs. And it's also right in the middle of the country, so it's nice and easy to travel to places that I need to get to help folks. And I'm brand new to most of the social media stuff. I had started a small podcast called Spiritually Speaking with Alethea back in April, but I never knew about a live format. And it was, it was more like a teaching thing. And then, Grizzly, when you and I started talking, it occurred to me that this would be a really cool way to do something live, to get spiritual information out to people, to answer people's questions. And so whether it's spiritual street talk or spiritual straight talk, I'm just somebody that will directly answer the questions as best as I can and try to be that bridge from, okay, here's the worldly stuff, here's the spiritual stuff. How do we bring it together in a way that makes sense and also inspires people to be curious and go try stuff for themselves, right? Because I think everybody has that great intuitive ability, but they may not have worked on developing that muscle very well in their lifetime. And the vision for this particular podcast or live cast, or is it so called a podcast if it's a live cast?
Yes, absolutely.
It is? Okay. Okay. So my thinking for this was take like the first 10 minutes or so and let's talk about issues of the day that come to our mind or heart. And then I'm picking some angel and oracle cards for messages from spirit that would be fun to share with the audience of, well, okay, what do they want us to be focused on today? Then I'll share a little bit about channeling, what it is and what it isn't in my mind, and how easy it really is if you're open. And then I'll actually demonstrate some live channeling and see whatever wants to come through. So that could be interesting to see, well, okay, what does Spirit want to talk about tonight? And then we'll open it up for questions. And whatever the audience wants to ask about or know about, we'll dive in and do the best we can. And then in the last 5 or 10 minutes or so, we'll just kind of remind folks about, where they can find us and where my books are and what courses or retreats and workshops are coming up and that sort of thing. So that was kind of like the rough sketch. I'm hoping that would be of interest to people, to make it real dynamic where they can kind of shape it and influence what it's going to be for them as well. So
absolutely. Yeah.
That's the goal. So let's see. So I guess the first thing is what's been on my heart and mind a lot lately has really been kind of an offshoot from the Olympics and that feeling of love that was in the air and we're all one. And then, a week later, I'm getting bombarded with the commercials and the the texts, all the political stuff. And, guys, I just want to remind us, if we're spiritual beings and we are all brothers and sisters on some level, right? There's a sense of oneness that is out there in the energy that we all share. In that quantum field, we are all one. We're just different expressions of a form of energy. So if that's the case, all of this contention that we see with politics or even more worldly war stuff and whatnot, it's like, think back to how we all come together when there's a crisis, when there's a natural disaster, when there's just some hardship that befalls a family in our community, in our church, in our society. We all rally together. And I think as spiritual leaders, it's incumbent upon us to remind everybody that we don't have to wait for the disasters and the emergencies to have that sense of fellowship and love of our brother and sister and extending help to our brothers and sisters. And even just thinking kindly, you don't have to share somebody's political orientation or their religious orientation in order to still like them and love them as a human being and love them as a brother or sister. I can't tell you how many people I know come and tell me, oh my God, I don't even talk to my brother anymore because, he was a supporter of this one and I'm a supporter of that one. And, he said some terrible things. And I'm like, really? Your brother? Dude, why are you letting the worldly stuff like this come between brotherly love, right? So, and sometimes people need that. If I was to kind of draw a picture of how I see spirit interacting with us these days, it's they're giving us this wonderful hug and kicking us in our butt at the same time saying, would you just wake the heck up? This is not how we're supposed to be in relation to one another. And so the more that we make a conscious effort to choose love over hate and choose faith over fear, whatever your faith is, right? Your faith might be, I know there's some energy outside of this physical body because I've seen something paranormal. And I would imagine most of you tuning in here today have seen something paranormal in your life or experienced it or heard about it secondhand, right? There is something beyond this physical plane. And so when we know that, we have so much more ability to choose and to make choices that fill us with this sense of love and wanting to fulfill a soul's purpose. Why are we here, right? Why are we born in the places we're born? Why are we in the families and the communities and the places at this point in time of evolution, right? I read a long time ago that our souls choose our parents. We know the big building block chunks, or maybe cinder block chunks of what our life is going to be, and some of the learning lessons and challenges, as well as the gifts and opportunities that we're going to be presented. And then it's up to us of how we want to navigate that and fulfill whatever that original game plan was. So just making that conscious choice for kindness and love and just respecting people. I used to hear that they had an ad about tolerance years ago. And it pissed me off because I'm like, tolerance implies you have to tolerate that person, which means by default, you don't like them. You don't love them. You don't respect them. So it's like, no. Let's come back. Tolerance, maybe it served a purpose once upon a time, or maybe it meant something a little different to the people that were putting that out there. But I think those random acts of kindness, cultivating love, even driving, I used to be a wild, crazy driver. And when somebody would try to pass me, I'd be like, no, you're not passing me, right? I'll just go faster. Or if they try to pass me, eventually I'll move over. And then I realized, I'm like, you know what? A, that's not safe. B, that's not loving. And you don't know what their situation is. Are they rushing to the hospital because a loved one is sick? Do they really have to go to the bathroom really badly and they need to get to an exit? I don't know, but I decided, and it is a decision, to not judge. There is no judgment in spirit. So if somebody is flying like a bat out of hell behind you or beeping their horn or flashing their lights because they need to get someplace fast, just move over. Just be a brother, be a friend. Imagine if you were having that emergency. Wouldn't you want everybody moving over just like if you were following a police car? Yeah, of course. So that theme tonight for me is what's been on my mind and heart a lot is kindness and trying to counteract a lot of the contention and the craziness that we see out there. Every time you turn on the news, it's like some other disaster or some other horrible thing. Even on the Weather Channel, it's like, okay, it's like the disaster of the month. We're all going to die, and it's like, Jim Cantori, you just stay away from me in my town, right? But you know what? There's so much good going on. There's so many blessings. There's so many miracles that are happening, so we need to hold and balance in our minds, hold those things together. All right. Anything that comes to your mind, Grizzly, that you want to share before I?
No, you're actually doing good. Missy Hammer said we used to rally together, but
True.
The evil forces are working hard at dividing us.
Yes. Agreed. All right. So, I have chosen a few angel and oracle cards asking spirit what would be important themes for us to all know or think about tonight. And for those of you who haven't worked with tarot cards or angel cards, first of all, almost every deck has a book. So for the tarot cards that I use the Aquarian deck. And I'm going to do a shout out here to my friend Craig Janjulis, who wrote this book, which is the companion deck for the Aquarian. It's the companion book for the Aquarian deck. And when I chose those cards, and he also has oracle cards, which are kind of cool. I chose those as well as some other angel cards to get a theme. And so the first card that I chose was purpose. And the angels here are reminding us that every situation, every person that's in our path is serving a purpose. It is something that we either need to know, so if you're having difficulties with a colleague at work, or if somebody's asked you for some help, or there's a situation that's popping up in your church or community, it's popping up to your awareness because you're supposed to be involved in it. You're supposed to open your heart and help in whatever way you can. Things that I remember my grandma. Hello, grandma. My grandma used to say, if you see something that needs to get done, do it. So if the toilet paper roll is empty, even if you weren't the one who used the last sheet, change the roll, right? And it's like, that was sort of a little motto that I had in the back of my mind for most of my life. It's like, okay, if I'm seeing something that needs to be done, if somebody is before me or somebody calls me or comes to me for help, it is my belief and agreement with spirit that the only reason that they're in my awareness is because I have something that I can do to help them. They have something that they can do to help me, help others. Full stop. And that's when you have that firm conviction and that's your truth and reality, then that's how life starts to unfold for you. So purpose is a really interesting card. And I also love thinking about purpose because I think a lot of us, we're so busy going through our day-to-day life. We don't stop and think, oh, is this all life is for me? Was this what I was meant to be doing? Does this satisfy my soul? And so asking those good questions about purpose and feeling fulfilled by what you're doing with your time, regardless of whether it's creativity or not. I mean, some people's purpose are to be the warriors and to be the fighters and to be the people that protect us and keep us safe. There's other people that were meant to be the musicians and artists and the writers who inspire and uplift us and help us aspire to things greater. or the athletes. Oh my gosh, talk about being inspired, right? Watching, the Olympics in particular, watching people at the best of their ability, that are just out there killing it, and you're like, yeah. And seeing the joy that they have because they've spent so long working towards that moment. The next card that I chose was an angel card that says, there's nothing to worry about and you're safe. The situation is perfectly under control. Universal order is ruling, right? So again, you turn on the TV, you think that we're halfway to the apocalypse by now, right? Or maybe even further, right? Based on what's out there. And who knows, maybe these are the end times, but the end times are supposed to usher in millennium of peace. So, all right, it's necessarily think it's all as grim and dire as some people that are out there might say. But when the angels are saying there's nothing to worry about, you are safe. You have this ability to call in protection around you. Whenever you're doing any work, whenever you start your day, you don't even have to be prayerful in a way of a religion. You can just offer a prayer or invite help and say, I call out to those who guide and love me from above for guidance, protection, and connection. And I ask that the energy around me be of the highest vibration and light. And then go about your business. You'll be good, right? You've asked the forces that are out there in that quantum field and in the universe, hey, have my back. Be with me. Make sure I have good energy around me. I don't want all the negative energy coming. And then the last card that I chose with the Oracle deck was Universal Love. And it goes right back into opening your heart. That's the one thing that we have the ability to do, is to express that love. We have consciousness and choice of what emotions we want to feel and share with other people. And then the tarot cards that I threw, they were all about purpose as well. But the one difference here, the next couple cards, was about feeling worthy. And, worthiness, we could probably spend a whole episode just on worthiness, because based on how we were raised, life experiences we've had, a lot of people don't claim their power and utilize their gifts as fully as possible because they don't feel worthy on some level. And once you realize that, well, if I'm going to be able to be of service to others, maybe I don't have to worry about, well, how worthy am I? Do I have the ability to help others? Okay, put the worthiness question on the shelf for now and go out there and serve. And you know what? The more you're out there serving, the better you feel, the more worthy you feel, you open up to even more gifts. And then you have this positive cycle that starts coming instead of anything that's more negative. And then the last card that I chose out of the tarot deck, it was the King of Pentacles. And it's a card that talks about balance and the importance of having balance in your life and creating that sense of balance on your financial front. So having your debts paid, your current bills under control, having money to enjoy now, for your, having the toys that you like and the time that you need. And then also making sure you're saving for the future, right? So that's financial piece is part of balance. Then there's your physical health. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating a healthy diet and eating foods that comfort you, but also are good for your body, right? So are you where you want to be with that? How about your relationships with others? Are they well balanced? Is it very reciprocal? If you're there's very few relationships that are totally 50-50, right? But if you're in a relationship and it's like you're putting 90% in and they're only giving back 10, you might want to think about that relationship. It's probably not as balanced as it needs to be. And you want to make sure that you're in one that is probably closer to like 60-40 some of the time, right? Sometimes you're giving a little more, sometimes they're giving a little more, but you're getting something out of the relationship as well. So that's the third aspect of balance. Then we have our spiritual balance, which is how much are you in tune with something greater than self? You can call it God, source, whatever you want. Uncle Charlie, I don't care. Whatever you want to call it, but there's something out there that we know from the quantum field. We know our finite minds can't conceive of it, but there must be something out there, right? So what is that? And how do we express the creativity? And how do we connect with that, whatever that is? And that's what spirituality is about. To me, religion and spirituality are actually two very different things. Religion might be how you express your spirituality in a formal context within a community that'll hold those same values. But there are many, many people that have nothing to do with religion, but they're extremely spiritual. And they make that as a choice because that means they're in touch with the spirit that they are inhabiting this physical body that they're walking around in this lifetime. And they know that we are all more than our physical bodies. And then the last aspect to be in balance is time. And you want to make sure you have a good balance of work, rest, and play, right? So those were the messages from spirit, right? Be aware of your purpose. There's nothing to worry about. Embrace universal love. Know that you're worthy. And do your best to create that sense of balance in your life, because that balance, once you have that, will allow you to kind of do those other things, to know there's nothing to worry about, find your purpose, and share universal love with others. All right. So those are the questions there. All right. How are we doing so far, Grizzly? Okay.
Oh, wonderful. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. This is
Cool.
great.
All right. So now here's the big risk for me. So one of the things I wanted to do, there's a lot of readers who'll go out there and metaphysicians out there who'll do like readings for people live. But I don't know of anybody who does channeling live on podcast. So I thought it might be very interesting to see what happens when I open myself up and allow spirit to kind of come through. And just to show you that it doesn't have to be this big, scary process. It can be just as simple as opening up your mind and your heart and allowing spirit to kind of come through us. To kind of get me in the mood, so to speak, I wanted to share with you something, and we'll talk about my book at the end a little bit more. But one of the things that came through was an inspired writing from spirit, and I called it Essence, and I want to read it. And when you are listening to material that's channeled, one of the things that you can make a conscious effort to do is to tune into the energy and kind of backtrace back to the source of where that channeling was coming from and see what insights are there for you personally. So it's kind of like when you listen to a song and it's really beautiful and you're listening to the music, it kind of transports you to another place. Well, any kind of channeled work, whether it's a painting that can be a portal to another dimension, or a poem, or any inspired writing, should be able to do the same kind of thing for you if that's part of your intention. So this particular piece was entitled Essence. And I'm going to read that for you. And then straight from there, I'm going to go into a couple minutes of opening up and seeing what spirit wants to say. And then when we're done with that, we'll open up the floor for questions and see where it goes.
Awesome.
All right. Okay. So this is Essence. You are light and darkness balanced in the night sky. You are love and hate balanced in a wounded heart. You are man and woman expressing individuality despite the oneness at your core. You are living yet dying as you traverse this line called time. You are a fractal within a fractal for the lifetimes that you have lived. You are a higher self, a lower self, an unconscious, conscious, superconscious self, just trying to make it through the day. Is Essence. Okay. So what I'm hearing from Spirit is at first is a delight, a feeling of joyfulness, of this opportunity to be able to communicate and to share insights and reminders and ask uplifting questions to those of us that are here. There is a sense of love and gratitude for the light workers that are on this planet and that you are a community of. In the coming days, there can be many financial hardships, environmental troubles, even weather-related disasters that may affect you or those that you love. It is incumbent upon us to come together as a community and to remember that we are all brothers and sisters and that we are all expressions of a oneness that is present for us. Like a river running through the woods, we can navigate through the obstacles and find our course, because it is extremely rare that the path is as straightforward as we think. The many obstacles that we see can sometimes be there put by grace in order to get us to slow down, to reflect, and make a conscious choice. Sometimes it is to test our resolve. Other times it is to tell us it is not clear yet. Wait here. And once the way is made clear, then proceed with joy and enthusiasm. Rest, declutter, prepare, heal, clear out the things that do not serve you. From that point, you can feel strength, you can feel certainty, and you can know that you are always being led in the direction that your soul wishes to take you for the fullest expression of its creativity, its love, and its purpose in this lifetime. Many of the children of this generation are extremely gifted. We have not given them enough credit or opportunity to shine for fear of them being hurt or challenging them too soon. They are so much stronger than you know. They are wiser because the veil for them is thinner, because the need for them to bring through information and to achieve things in their lifetime of a spiritual nature, to demonstrate the presence of spirit infused within the physicality. That is part of their collective purpose of these last few generations. So it is important for us to help guide them and encourage them to embrace their skills, to embrace their gifts, and to use them and build a resilience. Sheltered is not necessarily good unless you're sheltering from a storm, but you wouldn't want to stay inside all the time. So when the sun is shining and the day is bright, encourage them to go out there, to experiment, to fail and pick themselves back up, to experiment, to try, to be curious, to shine, and to be the forces for good in the world they were meant to be. And they are meant to be the mirrors back to us so that we can shine our lights for them as well as for our other brothers and sisters on the path. Okie dokie. How was that?
Very interesting. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, so what kind of or comments do we have out there so we can pick up on some streams of thought and let that guide some conversation?
Well, a little twisted. What do you think about that? I know you're out there. She says fantastic. So yes.
Okay, so we're looking at your chats. So what topic would you like me to dive into right now? Or what question do you have that you've been dying to ask somebody who would just tell it to you straight?
That's up to you all. What do you want to what do you want her to know? Tell me to tell her. Everybody's like cool. Claudine's like love, so beautiful. Thinning of the veil, Missy Hammer said.
Okay, sure. I can talk on that. So there are certain times of the year when the veil is thinner. There's also times of the day when the veil is thinner. So first of all, why don't we start with what the heck is the veil? All right. So there is a metaphysical concept of a veil being between us and those that are in spirit. And so when people die or transition from this physicality, whether they're pets or people, animals or people, anything living, the thought is that they go from this side of the veil, this physicality, to the other side of the veil. In some religions and spiritual practices, it might be called heaven, or it can just be, it can be the paradise, it can be the Elysian fields, it can be Valhalla, right? So it's in different mythologies and religions, we have different names for what's on the other side of the veil. But in certain times of the year, so I'll start with, we just went through one was called Lionsgate. And this is when the constellation Sirius and the star there is in the, I believe it's in the, moves into Leo. And it creates a thinning of the veil, which means when the veil is thinner, we are able to communicate more easily, and interdimensional beings have the ability to cross through portals much more easily than before. So one of the things that what we want to think about is also there's a veil of forgetfulness when we're born, right? So for many people, we don't remember if we've lived before, right? We speculate about past lives, and we've had different people that will kind of prove it by, you know, they're like, oh, I remember a lifetime when I was in England and my name was Martha and I lived at this address and there was this kind of furniture and there was this and this around the corner. And, you know, you could go to that place and check it out. And sure enough, you know, there's all that stuff. And how did that person know that? Or like the Dalai Lama, you know, apparently once the physical body of the older Dalai Lama has died, it reincarnates with conscious remembrance into the body of the newborn. But when that child is, I think it's 7, he's tested and he's able to pick out and know things and share things to prove that, yep, I'm that same soul conscious. So despite, you know, there's a few exceptions along the way, and people that don't have that veil of forgetfulness, most of us have taken on that or agreed to on a soul level, because it creates a sense of urgency in this lifetime to accomplish the purpose for which we were born. And if we had the sense of, oh yeah, you know, if I don't get around to it this lifetime, I'll get to it next time or the time after that, there wouldn't be that sense of urgency. And it can also be kind of overwhelming. You know, just think about all the things that are in your mind right now from your day-to-day life and the interactions you have with your family and your friends and your churches and your communities and your societies and your work environments and the world. If you watch the news a lot, you have so many things going through your mind to start with. Can you imagine if you had, let's say, I don't know, let's say on average, we all have 100 lifetimes we've lived. I don't know. I'm just picking a number. I don't know for sure. But can you imagine, even if you had more than like 1 or 2, can you imagine having those other lifetimes worth of thoughts and relationships and interactions and issues all floating around your head at the same time? Forget about it, right? So the veil is meant to be a blessing of forgetfulness so that we can stay focused on here and now and what we're supposed to be doing. All right, anyway, so that's more about the veil. So when is it thinner? It's thinner during Lionsgate. Lionsgate also has a purpose of manifesting associated for it. So when you put out those projections of things that you want in the universe, that you want to start appearing in your life, when the veil is thinner, that's a good time to do it. Another time when the veil is very thin is the week before Christmas through New Year's. It's when something called the Ruby Ray is coming through, and in kind of getting preparation for the new year and the new energy is coming, the veil's a little thinner, so communication is easier then with those on the other side. And then just on a day-to-day basis, the veil is thinner in the middle of the night. When the world around you is quiet, people are sleeping, there's not as much activity, the veil is thinner, which is why a lot of people have mystical experiences spontaneously in the middle of the night. You wake up to pee, and next thing you know, there's an angel standing there, or a message comes through, or spirits there saying, oh, well, we were waiting for you to wake up, you know, and they'll share something with you. So the veil is thinner during those times. And as far as consciously going through the veil, you can, as far as sending your consciousness there, that's what training as a medium is about. you learn how to kind of have a foot in each world and remain conscious so that you can go and ask questions and do your research or do your investigations and bring back meaningful information for people back on this side of the veil. Okay. Did I get to what your question was? Who was wondering about the veil?
Yeah, absolutely. You got some more to answer now. The next one is a little twisted. How do you handle toxic family, like siblings?
Okay. So the first thing I'd recommend to you is stop judging them as being toxic. I mean, there's a difference between observing and realizing what's there and judging it, right? So, and yeah, we all know people that choose to be miserable, or they seems like they're, it's one drama after the next, right? So one of the things when you say, how do you handle it? Well, you have to figure out what strategy works for you. First of all, if you live together and you're under the same roof, it can be a little bit more challenging. But the first thing is just radiate love. Be the example, right? And give them nothing to judge about you to be toxic about, right? So if you're always that force for good and positivity and love and kindness, that's fine. The other thing is sometimes you have to have tough love, right? So the tough love might be, you know what? I don't want to be brought down by listening to bitch to me for 3 hours on the phone. So I'm sorry, call a different friend, call a different sibling, call somebody else. I'm really not interested in hearing this. We have the choice of who we interact with, who we engage with, who we spend our time with, and how we interact with them. So if they are refusing to be positive, I would be making myself less and less scarce in their life. I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to give you some advice. I'm going to give you some coaching. I'm going to help you, try to see things a little different, try to motivate them to figure out, what's not joyful in their life, or what's, why do they keep running against the same issues? It's kind of like the person who, has one messed up boss after the next, pardon me, one bad boss after the next, and then all they're doing is complaining about their bosses. I'm originally from New York, so I'm have to try to keep my language in check here. But you know what? It takes a lot sometimes for that person to realize, well, geez, if my last 5 bosses were all these, maybe I need to look at me. Maybe there's something I need to be more reflective about. Same thing like the woman who's had, 8 husbands, and she's not a black widow, and she's not there, she's just like, she can't seem to hold a relationship down. And you're like, okay, yeah, maybe you have bad luck with attracting jerks, but why? And why you put up with it? And then, and maybe you need to kind of look at yourself a little bit more. And do you need to get better self-confidence? Do you need to have more love? Do you need to ask for help from other people to figure out, like, okay, this is a blind spot for me. What am I doing here? So basically, when people are toxic, I personally would say, okay, you know what? I'm not feeling good about my relationship with you or about what's happening. Can we work this out? If it's a husband or a wife situation and you're committed to that person, it's like, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to go to counseling? Do we need to pray on this? What do we need to do to turn this around? Because I love you. You're my family. And I want this. I want you to be happy. I want you to have the fullest, most wonderful life possible, right? That's what we want for our family and friends. So your sibling, you want them to be happy. You want them to have an amazing life. So what's stopping them? Okay. Or how are they stopping themselves? Some people don't know that what you focus on grows. It's a metaphysical, spiritual truth. As you think, so you are. It's in the Bible, right? Way back, right? It's everywhere. It's like what you believe becomes your reality. So if this person seems to have the drama of the day club happening to them and one horrible thing after the next happening to them, there's got to be a reason, right? What are they focusing on? What you focus on grows. What you put all your energy on, that's what you're going to manifest more and more of. So, you know, you want to clean up messes. You don't want to ignore a flat tire, right? You change the tire. You clean up the shit if you step in shit, right? You clean it. You deal with it. But you don't wallow in it. You don't keep holding on to it. You have to figure out, okay, why did I step in that shit? Oh, I stepped in that because I wasn't paying attention. Or why was that flat? How did that tire get flat? Oh, I wasn't noticing that the air pressure was dropping and dropping, or I drove on a really bad road, or, you know, so it's like you have to take responsibility for the consequences in your life and the outcomes, but you have to start asking better questions and making some choices. And if that person refuses to work on themselves or to try to shift out of that toxic mode, if they just want to always be the naysayer and the pessimist, if that's not helpful or useful at all, then you say, you know, sorry, I really don't want to be around you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to engage with you. I'll help you if you want. I'll help shift things. You know, I'll point you in the right direction. I'll give you some books to read or tapes to listen to or podcasts to watch. But you know what? I can't do it. You need some help. And sometimes that's the most loving thing you can do from a tough love point of view, is say, I'm going to distance myself because I'm not going to let you drown me just because you're going down. I'll try to help you. I'll try to save you, but I'm not going to allow you from an energetic point of view to stop me from being the light that I'm supposed to be in the world because you don't believe in the light. Okay, I'm sorry you don't believe in the light. I hope your life gets better. You can pray for them. You can wish them the best. You help them as much as you can, but don't let them be an anchor around you to drag you down.
I totally agree. Now, this next one I'm going to answer, then I want you to follow in suit. So,
okay.
Lori Sue, she says, okay, yet as a medium, please tell me something I need to know at this moment. I ask because YouTube is fraught with frauds. And I like you to be the opposite. Well, Lori Sue, not only is YouTube fraught with frauds, so is TikTok and all these conventions and everywhere else that you go. So I say this, my friend, you have to know who you're talking to and who about. Everybody affiliated with Bigfoot Outlaw channel has been tested and vetted, just like she has. She has been tested with my associates that are on my channel. Yes, she has. And she has been passed. And she has one heck of a resume. And when you ever actually have a true reading with somebody, you'll know when the person is real and sincere, because they will pull things out of your past and memory and your thoughts that you will not understand how they can do that. And I'll let you take it from here, man.
Sure. And so, Laura Sue, I think that was a fun way to ask for a reading, which I wasn't really planning on doing tonight for people there. But it's a good point to make sure that you know who you're listening to. So as Grizzly said, it's important to know people's background. I would invite you to go to my website, which is aletheajacob.com, and it's Alethea has an extra E in there. It looks like Alethea, ALETHEAJACOB.com, and you can read my background and my bio and all the stuff that I've done and where I've come from. But just to answer your question, one thing that that popped out as soon as I saw your question was that get off the fence. You don't need to take another class. You don't need to get another certification. You have enough tools and knowledge to be able to be of service right now. It's like the apprentice who keeps saying, well, I don't feel comfortable yet in hanging out the shingle and advertising that I can do this. And Spirit's like wants to give you a little push out of the nest. That's the image that came to mind for me, that it's time for you to start taking the training wheels off and really go for it and start sharing your gifts with the world in a bigger way. And in a way, stop making excuses of, I got to learn one more thing, or I got to do this other thing, or I got to no more excuses. Just get out there and start really shining your light and sharing your gifts and tools with the world. That's the first thing that popped into mind when I saw your question. So.
Well, it's a good question, because there are so many fakes and frauds out there. It's a crying out shame.
Yeah.
Claudine, personal power, please.
Okay. What is personal power? Personal power is the energy that we cultivate and exercise in the world when we are in alignment with our spirit and our soul's purpose. Personal power is what gives us that motivation to get up every day, and that joy that makes the work not feel like work. Makes it feel more like play, because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're cultivating that energy around us. Some people, when you look at them, they just exude an energy, right? There's something about them. You know, some people call it charisma. Some people call it, oh, wow, you have great energy. Or, you know, you sense that from somebody. When somebody is in alignment with who they are in the world, and they're out there doing what they're supposed to be doing, you can feel it. You feel the congruity of when they speak. You know that they're speaking from a place of truth and experience. You know they're the real deal. And you know that you can trust whatever they're doing for or with you is going to have the outcome that they're describing, right? So there's a credibility that's there. How you develop personal power is you really need to get through what's blocking you or stopping you, right? And one of the first cards that I chose today was that worthiness card. For a lot of people, what stops them from truly embracing or living and accumulating personal power is not feeling worthy of it. And you almost have to stop and say, okay, I'm going to use this affirmation. I claim my birthright as a son or daughter of the Most High God, or an offspring of the source, or pick your phrase that works for you. But you have to claim that and say, I own this. I claim it. I want it now. And then do the things, take the actions that are in alignment, which support that position of power. So if you're saying, I'm a powerful person and I can make decisions because I have a great intuition as well as experience and knowledge, well, then when a question comes up where you have to make a decision, make the decision, right? You know, you have to start backing up your own self-talk with actions that support that. Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah. Liana King says, man, that was the best definition of personal power I've ever heard. So yes. Now there's a couple more questions. Kyle Smith says, is it true that many times we end up marrying people we know in a past life?
Yes. From my experience in doing past life regressions with clients, I have my certification as a master hypnotist, among other certifications hanging on my wall. I've done loads and loads of regressions. And yes, we wind up very often coming into our life in what's called soul groups. And we sort of exchange places. So one time we might have been brothers, or a mother and daughter, you know, or a husband and wife. If there was unfinished business as a husband and wife in a past life, you may find this incredible chemistry and attraction to somebody in this lifetime, and you've just met them and you feel like you've known them forever. That's a hint. That's probably a carryover from one of those past lives. But yes, the short answer to your question is absolutely. You know, that past lives, and that even if it's just a mental construct of the energy, it's telling us that those aspects of the individuation of soul have had some reason to come together in that relationship as husband and wife in that marriage. So yes.
Interesting.
All right. How about we do one or two more, and then we're getting close to our hour already. Wow,
sure.
That time went flying by.
Missy Hammer says, how do you know they're legit good, or if they're evil pretenders when they pierce the veil?
Okay, sure. So first thing is, anything that anyone either on the other side of the veil or this side of the veil, when they're talking to you, to know that they're real, we all have our own internal BS meter, okay, detector. We have a way to tell our little gut feeling, right? When somebody, whether it's a reader, a medium, is talking to you and bringing messages through, they should ring true in your heart. They should make sense to your head, ring true in your heart, and feel right in your gut. If it doesn't hit on those 3 counts, don't give it that much weight. All right. Don't give it that much importance. So there's never something that's going to come through in a reading that doesn't ring true to your own intuitive self. Because remember, we're all connected. So if that message is truly coming from spirit, it should uplift, make sense, give you comfort, give you guidance. If it's not doing those things, change the channel.
Okay. Yeah, wonderful. All right, here we go.
Right.
And this one is from Little Twisted. I help a single mom, and her daughter is 10 years old and is very intuitive. How can I teach her to stay connected?
Okay, so children are naturally connected. So basically, the most important thing is to keep them engaged and not let anybody else shut them down, basically, because they're open, they're connected, they see spirit, they interact with spirit, they're very intuitive. You can play games with them to help them develop their intuition. You can encourage them. Hey, when the phone rings, hey, who do you think that is? You know, you can do things to just honor and encourage them to tune in and listen to their own intuition. You can teach them how to use something like a pendulum. That's a fun little tool for yes or no, right? To tune into the intuition. You can teach them to put their hands over their solar plexus and say, okay, think of something that's a definite yes. What does it feel like? Oh, it's warm. It's expansive. Great, great, great. Okay, now think of something that's a definite no. What does it feel like? Oh, it's cold. It's contracted. It doesn't feel very good. Okay, great. So now they have a way to judge anything, yes or no, going forward, using their intuition. So I would engage with them, make sure other people don't shut them down. You be that voice of encouragement, truly listen to what they have to say, and then encourage them to be curious and even, play games with them and teach them the little tools. There's so many tools out there to learn how to develop your intuition. In fact, one of the things I wanted to give a little shout out about is in November 8th, 9th, and 10th of this year, I'm going to be in Sedona leading a retreat called The Path to Empowerment, accessing your intuitive abilities and developing your spiritual gifts. So the whole 3-day workshop there and that retreat is going to be focused on learning those things. So if you want to know more about that, please go to my website. There's an event tab and it'll tell you all about what we're going to be doing there. All right. I think, is there any other burning question we need to jump on there, Grizzly, or should I just talk a little bit
last
about
one. Liana King says, can you explain what soul archetypes are, please?
Sure. So archetypes are broad categories of or classes of energy. So you have a teacher can be an archetype, a healer can be an archetype, a warrior, an empress, a high priestess, a shaman. So when you think about words or terms that represent a whole category of people, like as soon as you hear the word healer, right, there's certain things that come to your mind. That's how you know it's not just a job description, it's an archetype. It comes with a lot of characteristics that go along with that title, right? So it's like, oh, well, if somebody is a high priestess, for example, and that's an archetype, there's a certain way that they're going to behave and interact with nature and interact with energy and present themselves and interact with different tools, right? So archetypes that way. There's also, I can kind of go back, let's update it a little bit more out of like the metaphysical realm. We can even go to psychology, to like Freud and Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And the hero's journey has different archetypal roles in it, right? So you have your hero, and then you have the trickster and the helper, and there's different categories there as well. So archetypes are really fascinating. It's just a way to kind of give yourself a way to chunk up and see, like, what do you resonate with? Because if you're trying to figure out, well, what kind of archetype am I? What am I? That's going to be very tied to your life purpose and your soul's purpose. So it's kind of fun to read about them. So I would recommend reading a lot about the hero's journey and the different archetypes there. And I would also recommend pick up whatever tarot book you'd like. Again, I'll give a shout out to my friend. Psychic Tarot is a good one. It just got republished after 40 years. They just reissued it again. Look up each of the major arcana cards, because the major arcana, and arcana is just ancient wisdom. Major means important. So these important major wisdoms are represented by certain cards. Those 22 cards are all archetypes. So you can read about those, and that'll also kind of help you understand a little bit about what's an archetype and who am I and where do I fit in that whole archetypal scheme. Okay.
All right. Missy Hammer. I just want to let you know, Missy Hammer, this is her permanent spot every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So yes, she is here full time now. But the next question is what are we going to name her show? It started out with spiritual street talk, but she was like, Grizzly, that's not what I named it. And she named it what? What'd you name it?
Spiritual straight talk, because I thought it would be nice to finally have somebody telling it straight. And then through the wonderful translation of talk to text, it turned into spiritual street talk. So what do you guys think? Do you like one versus the other? Does it really matter? Just tell me what you think.
Yeah. So you wanted to be called spiritual street talk, or do you want to be called spiritual straight talk? So this is your chance, ladies and gentlemen, to actually name it.
You know what? What just hit me? Street talk is better because straight talk might be exclusive to all our Rainbow Coalition people. So maybe, maybe street talk was a little act of providence there in a God.
Looks like street talk's coming in. Everybody saying street. There we go. All right. Round of applause.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
All right.
All right. So last little plug, guys. I just wanted to let you know about 2 books that I have out on Amazon. One I wrote 8 years ago, and it's just some life coaching tips about how to get that balance in your finances, health, relationships, spirituality, and time. And then this is one that's entirely channeled. All of the inspired writings, the questions to ask and ponder, the random thoughts that came through. The intention of this book was really to be a way to encourage everybody to find their own soul's purpose, to empower you to ask questions that will lead you to the right answers and help give you a little bit more clues on which way to turn. And so they're all available on Amazon there. So, and of course, my website is AletheaJacob.com, and I'll be back here, next week. So tell your friends, like, share, do all the fun social media stuff that you all know way more about than I do to help spread the word. And we'll see you again next week. Have a blessed
absolutely.
day. Thanks for tuning in.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we got a show coming up tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to tune in for that. And don't forget, I'm going to that Bigfoot outing this weekend in Salt Fork, Ohio. So I am still packing, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned for the road trip updates and videos and pictures. And Lord knows what's going to happen this weekend. So we'll be filming live and broadcasting live from there. So from coast to coast, around the world, everybody, we'll see you shortly. Godspeed. Good night.
Bye-bye.